Just a minute, there's something about you that's kind of unusual. See that? Right back here, you got something behind your ear. Did you know that? You do, really. Right here. There. You know that was there? You didn't know? Yeah, it is. See, sometimes I find them behind the ears, and sometimes I find them on their noses. Of course, when I find them on the noses, the parents usually get those. I don't get a hold of them. But I find these once in a while. You know what they're good for? Really kind of strange. So what you do is you take it, put it in your hand like that, close your hand, and you just shake it up, make your hand real blurry looking. See how blurry that looks? And what happens? Looks like we have two, doesn't it? We don't have two. See, what happens? When you make your hand blurry, one of them is a blur, and one is a ball. Okay? Now, can you tell me which is the ball and which is the blur? You don't know? Well, let me actually explain to you. See, a ball is always a ball, and a blur is always a blur. A blur comes from a ball never comes from a blur. So a blur came from a ball, it's always a blur. If a ball came from a blur, it couldn't be a ball, it could be a blur. Because some blurs can have blurs, but balls can have blurs, and blurs can't have balls. Okay? So you always remember the ball is always a ball, blur is always a blur. A blur is blurrier than a ball, and a ball isn't blurry at all because it's not a ball. It's not a blur, it's a ball. You got that straight? Good. Did you explain it to me? No? Okay. Would you just point to the one that you think is the blur? You think this is the blur? I'm sorry, this is the blur right here. This is the ball. Okay? So this is the ball and this is the blur. Got it? Okay. Now what I'm going to do is we'll keep the ball right there. I'll take the blur, okay? And I'll just put it in my hand. All right? Now would you do me a favor? Would you hold on to the ball for me? Okay? And watch it. You just lay your hand right up here on the table. Just like that. That boy. Now I want you to close your hand up real tight. Now don't move your hand. Leave it right there so everybody can see it, okay? Got it? Okay, now don't move, because if you shake your hand in, it's really going to mess me up. Okay, you hold your hand still. You've got the ball, I have the blur. I'll take mine and I'll just shake it up real good. Make it blurry. You know what happens to make a blur blurry? If it gets so blurry you can't see it anymore. So it's gone. All right, now let me have the ball back and I'll show you. Whoa, wait a minute. What happened here? Did you shake your hand? Where'd the blur come from? Huh? Well, is that the blur?
Is that the one you had in your hand?
Is that the blur or is that the ball? Which one is it? That's what? You just point, I don't know which it is. Is that the blur? No? It's the ball? I'm sorry, the questions don't get much harder. Now actually, this here is the blur, and this is the ball here. Okay? Now what we do is we take the blur and we just put it in the hand. You see it in there? Okay, I'll let everybody else is trying to see. Okay? And this is the what?
The ball.
Thank you, the ball. We take the ball and we put that into the hand too. You see it in there? Make sure everybody else can see it. And we get some woofle dust. You know what woofle dust is? You don't? Well, woofle dust is the dust that comes off of woofles. Now, I know what's a woofle, right? Well, it's real simple. See, a woofle is a little elf-like person that lives in the forest. They're cousins to the artesians. And they look a lot like the artesians, but the artesians make water and the woofles make dust because they don't like each other. Okay, so if you're ever out in the woods and you see someone that looks like an artesian, it's not, it's a woofle. Got it? Okay. What we do is take some of the woofle dust and we sprinkle it onto the hand that holds the ball and the blur. Okay? Now, before we had one, then we had two. How many do we have now?
How many things in there?
You don't know? A lot of people think we have three. Actually, we only have one. It makes it a little easier to keep track of.
Oh, this one.
Okay? Now, you know what this is called? You don't? Why not? It's called nothing? No, what it's called is it's a ball and a blur together, right? So what would you call it? Some people say it's a blur ball. It's not. It's a ball blur. So yeah, it's a ball because it's a ball and a blur together. Now you see, if you called it a blur ball, that'd be wrong because that means the blur came for the ball. The blur didn't come with the ball. The ball came with the blur. So the ball comes first in the blur. The blur can't come before the ball does because then there's nothing before the blur to get the blur up. Right? So if we put both of them together, they're a ball blur, right? Boy, you're really on this one, I tell you. Okay, now what we're going to do is we'll take the ball blur and we'll just put it in the hand like this. Okay? And we just shake it just one time. You know what happens then? Well, then we separate the ball and the blur, and we get a ball and a blur. Weird, isn't it? Yeah, I agree. Okay, I'll tell you what. Now you tell me which is the ball and which is the blur. Point to the one you think is the blur. You think this is the blur? No, I'm sorry, this is the ball. See, this is blurrier than the ball, right? Not sure, okay. You're gonna wear a hole in there if you scratch it. Okay, this is the ball. This is the blur, okay? Now what we're going to do, we'll take blur, we'll put it in the hand, okay? We'll take the ball and put the ball in my pocket. We get some more of that woofle dust I was telling you about. Remember that? And we'll sprinkle it onto the... Oh, wait a minute. I messed up. You know what I did? I put way too much woofle dust on there. Could you do me a favor? Would you just blow some of that dust off? Oh, no, you blew it all off. You blew it all over the table. That's going to mess me up. You know why? When you blow all the dust off, the blur goes away. No, there's only one problem. See, I still need a ball to do the last thing I was going to do for you. But wait a minute. You remember what we did with the ball? I put it in my pocket. Boy, you are sharp. Okay, I tell you what. Since we've just got the one, we'll do something a little bit different. Would you like to play games? Do you? Okay, we're going to play a game. Okay, and everybody here can play this game, all right? This game is called Watch.
Watch.
Okay? No, not that kind of watch. You know, this is the kind of watch, all you got to do in this game is to watch the red ball. You tell me where the red ball goes. It's a real simple game. Okay? You'll win just like that. You ready? Okay, well, just watch the red ball. I'll put the red ball into my hand. Now what you have to do, you have to follow it, okay? And you tell me, what hand is the red ball in? You tell me?
What about
You think it's over? Whoops, wait. I messed up. Think the red ball's here?
that?
You think it's over here? Okay. Let's try the one you thought. The red ball isn't here. See, this is the red square.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay? So I always feel kind of, I feel like a nut, really, when I ask the question. What hand is the red ball in?
Neither.
Is it over here? You know why I always feel like a nut? Because in that hand I feel a nut. Kind of weird. I never understand how that happens, but it does anyway.